Jennifer, do you want to give it to about 2 after, 3 after?
Give it a few more. Maybe a couple more people coming in.
Thank you for turning on your cameras, especially if it's an intimate space, then we can see each other as we reflect. And do just keep yourself on mute. So we don't get any feedback or
Bethany, you're muted.
yeah, I got bumped in the mix when you muted everyone. So
Oh, sorry about that.
oh, that's all right. Everyone else can keep your mute on, but yeah, you'll probably want me unmuted. So hopefully you heard me welcome you into the space. And it's 6:33, and as people trickle in, we'll continue to add them. But Jennifer's going to welcome us into the space, and go ahead and get settled. Turn your cameras on, and we'll begin.
We got already somebody in the chat. They just keep coming in, so I'm like trying to admit them all. And okay.
Oh, sure. Do you want to continue to admit them all, or do you want to welcome?
I think we're good. I think we're caught up
Okay.
now. Okay. Welcome, everyone. It's so great to see you here. Thank you for joining us. This is The Soul Remembers What the Mind Forgets, How Dreams Reveal What Truly Matters. This is an introductory class that's going to lay down some foundational pillars that we need to approach a dream work practice. We're also going to offer some reflections that will allow us to really get a sense of what it's like to engage with our dreams and work with them in a dream group setting. I'm going to have Bethany give her a little intro to who she is.
Oh, everyone, my name is Bethany Ward. I'm a spiritual director and an intuitive. I help spiritual seekers who are lost or uncertain or feel disconnected take the next right step along the path to wholeness. And this is my friend Jennifer.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Zona. I am a shamanic practitioner and spiritual director. I like to work with clients and guide them through their life crises, loss, and disillusionment, using an interspiritual, archetypal, alchemical, mystical approach. I'm grounded in the fields of contemplative spirituality and energy healing, Jungian psychology, and shamanism. And I like to walk alongside individuals as they build their capacity to be more present to their life and to the wisdom that their stories carry. I am the sole proprietor of La Loba Soul Support, which is a private practice for seekers, providing soul healing practices for supporting the living, the dying, and the dead. That's who we are.
We're going to be introducing you in just a moment, but we're going to create the container that we're going to all exist in, and we're going to be existing within these 3 objectives. Tonight, we're going to talk about how you can understand your dreams and particularly how they can support not only your inner life, but the totality of your life. We're going to look at how dream work itself deepens your spiritual and psychological understanding. And we're going to take a look at how dream circles can hold and expand personal growth. So, we're going to start looking at dream work as an individual container, and we're going to extend it out into a group container. So, that is what we're going to be looking at this evening.
Great. So just a little basic housekeeping about our class today. We're going to be together for approximately 1 hour. The chat settings are open, so we encourage you to utilize the chat for questions, comments, and thoughts. We have specific points dedicated throughout our time that we will take for questions and answers. I invite you now to introduce yourself in the chat. It's always fun to see where you all are joining us from. Plus, I invite you to add one word about how you're feeling entering the circle tonight. We got California, feeling anxious. That's Diana. Curious, I like that. Oh, we got somebody from Ohio, Bethany. Oh, you're muted. How did we ask you?
Hello, neighbor. I'm also Whitney. I'm also from Northeast Ohio. Welcome. Ontario, New Hampshire, Richmond.
Austin, Texas. Awesome. Jennifer from New Mexico. Kathleen.
Another Ohioan. Hello, Sheila.
Oh, we got a lot of Ohioans.
New Mexico.
June from Canada.
Welcome. Welcome. I have a text from someone who's wanting to come in and looking for the link. So if you see me being distracted, it's me trying to direct her to the link.
No problem. No problem.
Well, welcome everyone. Let's see, there's 18 of us gathering tonight with maybe a couple more trying to get in, looking for the link. As such, that means we can facilitate some conversation here. And that's where the good juju always is. So I'm going to encourage you when we have reflection questions to unmute yourself as you're willing and able and to share as deep and as intently as you would like. So let us begin on dreams. We're going to start by talking about what makes dreams unique. And our first invitation is to just simply throw out any dream dictionary you may have encountered. Because in this space and in this kind of dream work, you don't need them. You may reference them occasionally for some archetypal wisdom, but we use the dreams themselves with a simple framework to mine them for their meaning and to use them for orientation. So throw them out. We're just going to have a fundamental, foundational understanding of dream work so that you can interpret the meanings of your dreams starting tonight. And then you can live from their guidance.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. You don't really need a dream dictionary.
No.
So the question is, what makes dreams so unique? Why choose dreams? I personally consider dreams as one of the paramount elemental acts of engaging with the inner world because it's an opportunity for inner work that's guided by the symbols of our own psyche. Dreams are just not symbolic, they're deeply personal expression of your soul's process. And when we dream and receive images and symbols, which are contents that are coming from you, it's flavored from our own personal world. It's your own psyche's personal symbols and images. And to me, that's a very tender relationship you want to cultivate because essentially you get to see how your soul, how your psyche moves through the world. and you get to build a relationship with that aspect of yourself.
But not only am I a dream worker and a spiritual director, I'm also an intuitive. So I use tools like tarot and astrology quite regularly, particularly in session. Dreams are infinitely more available to us than even tarot or astrology. For those of you familiar with a tarot deck, there's 78 symbols, 78 cards in a deck. While that's fast, it's also limited. But if we take our dreams, there is an infinite amount of symbols, messages, meanings that we can mine just from one dream alone. But imagine then paying attention to the totality of your dreams. So we have so much more access to the workings of our soul or psyche. We'll use those words interchangeably, psyche and soul. We have so much more access to the totality of who we are by using dream work to understand our own selves and our own souls. And they're uniquely patterned to you. They arise from you and they speak your own soul's language.
Yeah, they give you direct access to your unconscious, to images and messages that are shaped specifically for your growth. Dreams can be especially powerful because they're going to speak to your life more so because it's pulling upon your personal content and your own images. They reveal those unique images and patterns that sort of transcend just the personal aspect of your life story. Dreams depict our inner world and life experiences in symbolic form, which complements our limited ego point of view while also giving us a container of image and symbol to work with, things that can sometimes be difficult to grasp or hold or take care of in waking life.
We want to think about dreams as a conversation with the self as that deep essence of who we are. So everything that we're doing in dream work is a dialogue with the self. And it reveals to us, dream work reveals to us what we need to express, what we need to explore, what needs to be resolved, what we might be compensating for. So we want to think about dreams and dream work as a conversation with the deepest part of ourselves. And in so doing, dreams are this very beautiful, sacred resource. It's like a reference manual to all that is you, and they are yours. No one is going to dream like you. No one is going to mine a dream like you, and it's no one else's symbols but yours. So your symbols are going to look very different than my symbols. My symbols are going to look very different from Jennifer's symbols. And so we don't need any outside systems, as we mentioned, because they are uniquely yours and they're your own resource library.
So we're going to take a moment and reflect. What would shift for you if you believe that your dreams were not random, but sacred messages just for you? I invite you to raise your Zoom hand and I'll unmute you, or if you rather, you can share in the chat. We've got a shy crowd here, Bethany. So
So
I
you're in
guess
a room with, yeah. So you're in a room with spiritual directors. We're trained to hold silence, and it's not share or die.
we have
But we will
Diana's.
give you some silence to reflect upon.
Yeah.
But Jennifer, I think, was feeling moved to share as well. Jennifer, what were you going to say?
When I started this, I wasn't really somebody that remembered my dreams. So I was not even thinking I was somebody that could do this. And then once I learned how to really start to remember my dreams and use the methods for that, it was fascinating to me. I found that yeah, these are sacred messages, but my psyche has quite the sense of humor, and I have dreamed some very ridiculously silly things.
We
Uh,
have one wondering, Diana's wondering, she's interested in knowing what someone stealing my plants would mean, and adds that with a sense of humor. And what might shift for Whitney is towards working with my ancestors. Yeah, and I just got a little chill. And that is
That
definitely an aspect of dream work if I knew my dreams weren't random. Julie says I'm an active dreamer and I dream a lot based on my fears, and that's very significant. It's what I always say to the people I serve, what emerges from us is for us. So there's something that's asking for examination, whether it's a plant or understanding our own lineage or encountering our own fears.
mm,
Often we encounter our fears in dreams, but dreams also give us a way to overcome them if we know how to work with them. What I've noticed in my own dream work is I've been able to maintain an equilibrium, I guess is the word I want, like an emotional regulation that I didn't have as well prior to working my dreams. Because I know if something is necessary for me to know, it will come in a dream. So I really don't need to get torqued up about a lot of things. I can just wait for the dream maker to tell me, and then I can act upon it. And not
mm,
only do I get hipped to the fact that there's something I need to know, I often get the solution as well if I continue to deepen my dream work. Carmen says, I dream almost every night and wake up feeling like I'm falling. That
mm,
feeling is really important. We're going to talk a lot about the feeling in a dream.
yeah.
So we'll expand this further, but some of the questions you can ask around that is where in your waking life do you feel like you don't have any footing or grounding? Do you feel like you're kind of floating in the ether? So
Mm,
that the dream is there offering something. So to that point, and I'll quickly impart this, is that dreams are always in service to something we don't already know. So there's something about falling you don't already know that the dream maker is trying to communicate guidance on something that has been blocked in my waking life. That is the perfect reason to come to dream work, June. Absolutely.
yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's important too to mention that the plant, like I forget who said that somebody's stealing her plants, Diana. Um, the plant is a symbol for something else. A plant is not a plant in a dream. It's not a literal interpretation. So really, you go back to what associations do you make with the your plant or a plant. Oh, joy, she says. Okay, so
Mhm.
somebody's trying to steal your joy.
Mhm.
It'd be
Mhm.
interesting.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's something I wanted to add to Beth.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. We'll deepen that too. Yeah, I'm already seeing how stealing joy could open up to such a profound conversation within oneself.
Yeah.
I feel like some dreams are deeply meaningful, while others are gobbledygook or detritus from the day. Yeah, it's detritus from the day is a very common perception around dreams.
Mm,
I've been doing dream work for about 15 years and leading others in that process. And I can say that even in the gobbledygook and the detritus, there's something there, even if it's detritus. So we're always looking at the dream as if it has something to offer, as if it knows more than we do.
mhm.
Yeah. Profound shifts that can be made when we're looking at dream work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Okay, are we
let's
ready to move on, Bethany?
yeah, let's move on.
Okay.
So we threw out the dream dictionaries, but we still need a framework. So the framework that we are going to hold very lightly and very loosely, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. We're just going to give it a container, is from analytical psychology, Carl Jung's analytical psychology. So a lot of these words you may recognize, they come from the tradition of depth psychology. And this is the framework that most dream workers use in some way. Again, my invitation to you is to hold this very lightly. We threw out the dream dictionaries, but we do need something to hold us up. And this is what's going to hold us up as we curiously engage with the container. So let's start with consciousness and unconsciousness. It's my left, so I'm assuming it's maybe your left. There is a map of the psyche. That is the totality of psyche. And again, psyche and soul are used synonymously quite often. So this circle represents all of you. There are parts that you are aware of, and there are parts that you're not aware of. Consciousness is the part that you're aware of. It's thoughts, memories, images, emotions, sensations. all that you are keen to in any given moment. It contains the ego, that thing that says I, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So, a lot of the waking external life is happening in consciousness. Unconsciousness is exists in two realms. You can kind of see the center of the circle and the bottom of the circle. The personal unconscious is the realm that is unconscious, but it's yours. It's where you make meaning about what it means to be you. The collective unconscious is that universal sea that we all exist in. It's universal, it's inherent, and we all have access to it. For example, if I say mother, that's going to conjure up something for all of us. But how we relate to mother is in the personal unconscious. Mother is in the unconscious. It's an archetype that exists in the collective unconscious. So the collective unconscious, that very bottom, is is where we have archetypes, primordial images, and symbols and psychic drives. And the personal unconscious, that's where we see an emotional layer wrapped around the the archetypes, which we call the complex. So again, hold this very lightly. We're just building a scaffolding, and then we're going to deepen that experience.
Okay, so the ego and the dream ego. I like to use the metaphor of an iceberg for the ego. So if you look at the diagram here, you'll see that the ego is partially here in the consciousness and partly in the personal unconscious. The ego is a center field of conscious awareness. It's the sense of I. It connects us to our identity, our continuity. We wake up in the morning and we have a sense of who we are because of the ego. But the issues we typically tend to measure are self-knowledge by conscious awareness only, right? So it's the only thing that we're readily aware of. So of course, that's why we do that. However, the dream ego is an image that presents the dream as the tangible I, the subject with whom we readily identify in the dream. The dream ego and the waking ego have a special twin-like relationship. They're considered shadows of each other. And it's important to remember that the I of the dream is no secret stage director who is the author and actor of the script. Your dreams belong solely to your psyche, your soul, and the dream ego merely plays one of those roles in the show. So, staying with the dream ego as an image, which we're going to get to shortly, invites us to release this waking ego's fantasies of soul authorship and enter the dream ego as seeing it as a seeing through that opens into the soul. Does anyone have any questions about that? I mean, I know it's a little deep and I'm happy to take a question if somebody has one. Guys, good?
Put
Okay.
those, if they emerge, you can put them in the chat. So essentially what we're saying with ego and dream ego is there's the ego in your waking self that says I am this, but there's an I in your dream too. And those are actually two different
Right.
entities. The I that
Twin.
is dreaming is actually different than the I that's walking through the
Right.
grocery store,
Right. They have
picking out your mac and
access
cheese.
to the personal unconscious.
Exactly. So we'll move on. We'll do this very quickly. There are other things that we look for in dreams. We've already talked about archetypes. Archetypes are these foundational structures. If you could go back, yeah, thanks.
Sorry about that.
An instinctual pattern. So we know of archetype as mother or father or king or queen. Fairy tales are ripe with archetypes. And complexes are the things we really want to pay attention to in dreams. It's how we have an emotional idea around something. So, work might be an example. I love to work. My best friend has a hard time getting out of bed. Work is an idea, but we each have a complex around it. We each have a different relationship to it. And complexes are very clear and apparent in dreams. We'll often say, what complex are we in? What's the setting of the dream? So again, hold these very lightly. The most important thing we want to talk about is that triangle, the self. The self is the part that's deeply invested in your path to wholeness, in your ability to be fully yourself. So when you are dreaming, the self comes in and says, you might want to compensate for that. Have you thought about that? I think this is bothering you. Do you remember when this thing happened? I'm not sure it's reconciled. And so the self wants you to feel whole. So it brings dreams in pursuit of that. So that's what we want to hold more than anything, is that the self deeply cares about, are you living to the fullest potential that is you? So it's this intercepting principle that enters the dream. So that lays the framework, but we're gonna set that aside, and we're gonna move on, see if there's any questions around that, and then we're gonna deepen into dream work itself.
Yeah. So I'm just going to take a minute here. Again, we want to reassure you that this is something to hold in the background. It's not essential to understanding your dreams right away. So hold it lightly. It's some pretty heavy glossary terms, but we're interested. What's stirring in you right now? If you want to share, we'd love to hear your voices out there. Not, please share in the chat.
And Julie says the concept of self in my dreams are interesting. Yeah. I was going to lift up something similar, Julie. When I began to study dream work, I was profoundly moved that there was something that was deeply invested in my well-being. And that gave me such a sense of being held and directed and guided and maybe even loved, that there was something that cared so much that it used this language of dreams to ensure that I was living well. So, Julie, I echo that very much.
Mm, that's beautiful, Bethany.
It is exciting. It is exciting. And that's what we're going to look for as we continue to deepen this conversation, is that
Awesome.
exciting dialogue and conversation.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So let's move on.
Okay. So what makes dream work dream work? Oh, so, oh, hold on, we got it. Okay. So when we sleep, it's the soul's descent. We become alive in the underworld. So dreams belong to the realm of shade and darkness. They don't belong to the ego in the day world. When working with a dream, we want to stay in the darkness of the unconscious. So instead of dragging the symbols all the way up to something like my crazy office and the mean boss and all those types of dynamics, you want to stay with the dream in the underworld with the figures, and then you can start to interact with them. Dreams are not in service to ego or personal growth. They just invite engagement with the raw material of the soul. This is a practice of soul making rather than a kind of dream working. Stick with the image. Working directly with the image allows its unique nature to unfold and impress upon us. There are many presences, many perspectives, and many things that drive us, and each one of those has its own autonomy, its own intelligence, its own desires, and when we dream, we get in touch with them. They can shift and change us and maybe help us grow, but it's really about allowing the ego perspective to be in relationship to them directly rather than saying you need to be in relationship to the ego, if that makes sense. Dreams reveal the endless variety of the soul, and it restores that sense in us of the many voices, the many figures and presences that we have. So sticking with the dream image and leaning into it might reveal that the dream image has more to say, more ways it wants to impress upon what we realized than if we had just jumped into interpretation.
So dreams are symbolic, nonlinear, and relational. By symbolic, we mean they are speaking their own language. They don't speak in the same language that you and I are speaking in now. They speak in symbol. So we want to learn how to speak the language of symbol. They're non-linear, so settings will often jump or timelines are often jump. So my best friend from high school is now in my adult kitchen table. And we could kind of see that the timeline of a dream pattern is shifting and changing. But if we think about that symbolically and not linearly, we can make more meaning from the dream. And dreams are relational. So just like we were looking at that map of the psyche, it's talking to all of those aspects of the psyche. But dreams are also talking to each other. So you may have recurring images. You may have a recurring dream. If you focus on a period of time in your life and you're really noticing your dreams, you might see that there are recurrent themes that are emerging. They're actually having a conversation with each other, and the story is unfolding. So they're symbolic, they're nonlinear, and they're relational. And dream work is not dream analysis. And analysis is more like, how is the psyche shaped? This is more like a conversation with your own soul.
Mhm.
So that's what we want to hold, is what conversation is the deeper parts of me having with the waking part of me? So we are actually going to practice that with a
It's gonna
dream
be fun.
right now.
Yeah.
So I am going to share one of my dreams. It's short. And my invitation to you is to let yourself come into my dream. As I tell the people I serve, like just kind of blur your vision, just kind of let it get hazy, let it get dreamy as I tell you this dream. Maybe you want to settle into your chair a little bit more, maybe you want to close your eyes, but do your best to conjure the dream as I'm telling it and just notice what you notice. Okay? Shall we begin? We ready? You comfortable? Okay. So in my dream, I'm at a nightclub. I'm at a half circular booth, and it's a VIP booth. It's dark, and there's a fog machine running, and it's very, very foggy and cloudy in this room. There are spotlights, and they're veering and jetting all around the room, and occasionally they catch my eyes, and it's painful. It's painful when the light hits my eyes. And so I wince every now and again. And then I look to my right, and sitting next to me is Steve Perry, the lead singer of the 80s band Journey. And he says nothing, but he does kindly and protectively lift his hand above my eyes to shield them from the spotlight. So just let that continue to wave with you. And I'm going to tell it again. So same thing. Let yourself enter the dream with me as if this is your dream. So in my dream, I am at a nightclub. I am sitting in a half circular VIP booth. It's very foggy and dark. And there are spotlights zooming all around here and there. And occasionally they catch my eye, and it is very uncomfortable. I look to my right, and I see Steve Perry, and he is going to shield my eyes with his own hand to protect them from the light. Just hold that for a few more seconds, and then Jennifer's going to guide you in that dream.
So working with the dream, and having it work with Bethany, what images of the dream stand out, Bethany's dream stand out for you personally? What images of Bethany's dream stand out for you personally? Again, please in the chat or raise your hand, whatever's comfortable for you. We have spotlight, heavy fog, Steve Perry, and being protected. I think these are they're a very talented group we have here today. Shielding her eyes from the spotlight. Yep. Okay. So circular booth, truth hurts, and Journey's music helps you romanticize it enough. Interesting. Okay. Half circle.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Okay. I like the half circle. Yeah, that's a good one. So what our next question would be, what feeling or energy does that dream evoke in you? Does it have for you? Safety. I am important. Being the center of attention and not wanting that. Not being in charge, control, uncertainty, and protection. Sense of relief at the end. So protected. Good. Great. Seems Julie. Great. All right. And our last question. If this were your dream, what do you think it might be asking of you? Know you will be okay. Don't be afraid of the light. Not be blinded by consciousness. Worthy of care for someone notable. Good. Get on the dance floor of life. I like that. It's awesome. Trust that I have help. Okay. Awesome. All right, Bethany, I'm gonna release the suspension here and ask you to share your waking interpretation of your dream that you found as you worked with it.
Yes. So we just experienced the dream ego that was participating in this dream and witnessing Steve Perry and experiencing the discomfort of the light. But we want to take that dream ego and put it into mirrored relationship with the waking self and start working the dream. So the setting when I dreamed this was really important. I was beginning to increase visibility around my own work and put myself out there more. And yes, there was a lot of anxiety around visibility. So we heard a lot and we heard what dream work does. It gives us so many opportunities to see so many layers of interpretation. Where are your boundaries? Yeah, exactly. And that actually emerged from contemplating this dream and working this dream. So that was I could take that into my waking life and say, I'm having a lot of anxiety around visibility, but there's so much more to the dream, namely Steve Perry, right? So that was very curious. So I had not thought about or even remembered that Steve Perry existed since I was 9 years old. So my mom did like Journey. So we can maybe say with some confidence that we're in the realm of a mother complex, that it might have something to do with my mom. But we can go deeper. I started to Google Steve Perry. I didn't even know he was still alive. And um, started to like find out what his story was. Well, what I didn't know that I do know now, and what I didn't know when I dreamed this that I do know now in waking life, is that Steve Perry had left Journey at the height of his fame. He was on top of the world, had become overwhelmed by fame, and became a recluse, where he remained for the next 30 years. So, why is this dream significant? it told me a complex I was in. I probably have some visibility complexes that have to do with the mother, that I was really wrestling internally with how do I become boundaried. I think we saw get on the dance floor, be worthy, all those things that come up with visibility. But there's also this element of the collective unconscious. My psyche had information that I didn't have, which was that Steve Perry had become a recluse. So that existed somewhere in the ether, but my waking mind did not have access to it. So this is why working this dream in this container shows us that one, we can go a myriad of ways with it, to know that I'm okay. Don't be afraid of the light. Don't be blinded by consciousness. Blinding is such an interesting image. But then also that we have so much more access to symbology and symbolic soul language than we even are aware. So this is why we throw out the dream dictionary. This is why we just use the feeling, the image, and any associations we have to work the dream. And so, in that sense, we do approach dreams as sacred. We hold them knowing that they have something for us that the waking self does not have access to. And we stay curious. And curiosity is what helps us enter back into the dream. Like to wake up and be like, was that Steve Perry? What the heck? That was so weird. That curiosity moves us deeper into the dream. And it does that to capture our attention. But also, you had all of these lovely um, interpretations, associations in the chat, but the dream is still mine. It's my soul working with me to have those conversations. So the dreamer is the ultimate authority of the dream. And you can go to hundreds of dream workers, and they're going to pull out something unique within each dream. But you get to come back and say, what did that dream actually mean to me? That was helpful. It helped me to see things in the chat that I hadn't thought about, like being blinded by consciousness or get on the dance floor. Hi, Lisa, by the way. But I still get to come back and say that for me was about visibility. And that was about how potent my psyche is and what it can access.
By sharing your dream, Bethany, and hearing people, tell them going into your dream and hearing them what they think or it also gives, what resonates for you. Like when you read something like Get Out on the Dance Floor of Life, does that hold any energy for you? Is that something that maybe in your shadow that you didn't think about?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what makes dream work so profound, especially in the company of others. And then when Whitney said to trust that I have help, I
Mm.
don't think I ever got there. I felt protection maybe, but not trust. And now I have a way to deepen my own soul work. Oh, what does it mean to trust? And what does it mean that I'm provided for and protected and that I am helped and help is available? That deepens my own conversation with my own self and my own inner work.
Bethany?
So I'm curious. I already had some illuminations from the dream work. What surprised you the most as we worked a dream? What did you notice? What surprised you? Maybe even what some of the wondering questions you're holding. And you may unmute and share or raise your Zoom hand or just share in the chat. So help me with your name. Is it Adeline? Adeline?
Adeline.
Adeline. Beautiful name.
I thought this might be easier to speak rather than type,
Yeah,
but
please.
Absolutely. We
Uh,
encourage you to speak. Thank you.
yeah. How did you, so like with the Steve Perry, like I've been doing dream work for a couple of years, and I think that normally I would associate having like a male figure as more of like an anonymous like protector, or whatever that is showing. But how I think that it was really surprising to me that that like pulled in the collective for you, and I'm curious how you got
Yeah,
there.
if I'm understanding the question correctly, if we kind of go back to that map of the psyche, where did Steve Perry live? Well, he lived in the personal unconscious. There's a relationship to the mother there. I'd known him when I was, of him when I was 9. So there's a personal
Mhm.
relationship there. So he exists there, but he also exists in the collective unconscious. And actually, those archetypes move back and forth between the collective unconscious and the personal unconscious. And they're gatekeepers. You're referring to the animus. There are gatekeepers to the collective unconscious for all of us, and they all take on different
Mm.
forms. So I have my own personal sense of the animus. So the animus in a woman's dream is like that male aspect of her. So that's what Adeline is asking. So how did I know it was a symbol and not a dream, or a symbol and not an animus? Excuse me. It's kind of both. I have a
I
lot
would
of
say so.
understanding around who my own animus is, but it's always being revealed.
Mhm.
I know the animus in my dream, and there's an intimacy there. And Steve is
Mm.
similar but different. Now he feels symbolic,
Right.
but you could
Right.
approach him as both,
Right.
really.
Dream Ego could have picked any male figure, but why would the Dream Ego pick Steve Perry?
Right.
What is it about Steve Perry that is a symbol here?
So surprise is that you found out more about Steve Perry and that he was connected to the realm of the mother. Yeah, I was surprised that I was led to do research on Steve. And I encourage you to do the same. What captures you? Go deeper with it. To circle back to your previous question, what do you think this dream was ultimately asking of me? Just to reflect on this question of visibility, or do you think it had a more explicit message? So this is the yummy chef's kiss part about dream work is you could work a dream over and over and over and over again and find more messages in it, find more implicit and explicit information. So what was it asking of me? Um, to your point, Lisa, the interpretation I took as the dreamer was to get on the dance floor, that I was safe, it was okay, that there was a compassionate part of myself that knew that that was uncomfortable. So that's the spotlights in my eyes. I know that's uncomfortable. I appreciate that. And it probably has something to do with your mom, by the way, who's lovely for the record. But we all have complexes. And so then what are you going to do? You're protected and guided. Are you going to sit here or are you going to become visible? And do you think it had a more explicit message? I want to call that back to dreams being relational. So that was one in a series, right? So you turn your face towards the dream. You say, oh, we're talking about visibility. Got it. What's next? Okay, well, here's how I want you to be visible, the self says. And I started dreaming about writing a lot. So, oh, this is what we're visible around. Got it. So we want to see dreams as a conversation that's unfolding. One leads us into the next, into the next. And if you keep a dream journal, which I highly recommend, you'll see those patterns emerge. Great question.
Yeah. Everyone, thank you for participating with that. That was a lot of fun for me to listen and read all your responses. All right, so we're moving on here to how dream work improves your life. And I think of dream work as this well. There's such depth to it, and as you look into the well, there's a lot of things you'll see. You'll see your own image, you'll see different other images, and there's all these usually pebbles at the bottom of the well. And as you draw your bucket in and bring up the pebbles, there's always something new coming to the surface. The dream is always going to offer you something new. So that's why what Bethany said, that she return to her dream a couple times, and you could return to a dream for years, you're always going to get something new from it. As you move in through your stages of development and growth in your life, you're always going to get something back from it. So I like to think of the dream as the well. Bethany?
Yeah. And the more that you engage those dreams, you'll begin to see how dynamic it is, an entire world that is living within you. And you begin to see it take shape. And in my own dream group, there is this funny aside that we always make, that my inner dream self loves pop stars and pop culture. And as evidenced by Steve Perry, ever since the Steve Perry dream, I've dreamed about Bruce Springsteen and Miley Cyrus, and I, in waking life, could care less. But there's something that my dream self is just wanting to express in that realm. So you start seeing it as its own world, and that leads your curiosity even deeper. And
Yeah,
it's
dream is a container for it.
yeah, and it's showing you all the structures of your own inner life.
Yeah.
So, like yoga, where we're trying to hold a pose, the dream holds the container and it strengthens us. It strengthens our awareness. It strengthens our alignment, and it strengthens our presence. And it enhances clarity, creativity, emotional resilience, and for this one, most importantly, it gives us a sense of direction and orientation. This is where I'm going in life. This is the way to go. Got it. Don't hide. Get on the dance floor. This is the way we're going. And most importantly, it builds a relationship with the deepest parts of you, the most integral, essential parts of you. As I always say, the ego cannot follow you into the dream world. It can't go with you. So we got to leave it behind and let the dream do the work.
So there's our well. And just a minute for reflection. What area of your life feels like it's asking for deeper attention right now? What might your dreams be trying to offer you there? And maybe some of you have a symbol that's reoccurring for you. And if you do, please share that. Any response we're open to. So use the chat or raise your hand. Whitney's
Mhm.
saying that she's being asked to look into familia and ancestral interests. Yeah.
And Julie asked, I have a dream I wrote in my journal, but how do I know what to focus on to understand it?
Mhm.
Go where there's the strongest emotion.
Mhm.
In the Steve Perry dream, the strongest emotion actually isn't Steve Perry, it's the discomfort with the spotlights. So try to bring yourself back into the dream. Just let your vision blur, go back into the dream. What feeling did the dream ego have that was the most notable and profound? Start there and then let the dream unfold.
Mm.
I've been feeling like my creativity and art need more attention, and I've been ignoring that part of myself for the last few years, and it's been calling to me lately. Thank you, Amanda. My invitation would be, Amanda, is as you go to bed tonight to ask the dream maker for a dream about this.
Yeah.
This is the coolest thing
Yeah.
also,
It's awesome.
to ask for a dream and then have the dream maker deliver. And then you really see that there's a conversation happening. So I would just, as you're going to sleep, dream maker, please talk to me about my creativity. What do I need to know about my creativity? Panthers are reoccurring, feminine consciousness and
Yeah.
working with a smaller self. That's
Interesting.
profound. Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
another bear in vessels, containers.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Really cool.
How do we remember our dreams? That's a good question. We'll get to that in a sec. Concerts and dance floors. Okay, so this is another reason. See, I get very excited about dreaming. But concerts and dance floors. Did we see the synchronicity there? If you are participating in dreaming with a group, the symbols will begin to overlap. The dream always belongs to the dreamer, but you'll start seeing synchronicities. And so, Julie, with the concerts and dance floors, you can say, wow, is there anything from Bethany's dream that might be relevant to mine because of synchronicity? It
Right.
showed up, it's probably for me.
Yeah. That's
How do we,
awesome. That happens.
yeah, and that's always my favorite. In my own dream circle, we all dreamed about theaters for like 6 weeks straight, all different kinds of the way that a theater, they were two separate dreams. Uh, that, yeah, I might have lost a thread there and I apologize. Oh, concerts and dance floors, two separate dreams. Got
Yeah.
it.
But
Um,
connected.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say they were connected.
Yeah, I was just going to say these same things. So they're relational.
Right.
Dreams talk to each other. And
Mhm.
how do we remember our dreams? So it sounds silly, but trust me on this. When you
Mhm.
wake in the morning, try to keep yourself as hazy as possible. Say to yourself in that haziness, I remember my dreams. I remember my dreams. I remember my dream. I remember my dream.
Mhm.
As you do, one image or feeling will begin to emerge.
Load up. Yep.
Just grab it, what you can, even if it's just a panther. Just grab it. That's enough.
Yep.
What happens over time is the dream maker and the self recognize that you're paying attention and you become more proficient in that and you're more able to have the entirety of the dream.
Yeah.
If you write it down, even if you just wrote down panther, because that's all you could grab, or the feeling, and that's all
Mhm.
you could grab, that's the conversation started.
Mhm.
Also, notice how you woke up in the morning. Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? That's probably a dream message. Write that down. Discombobulated. Chances are something happened in the dreaming that created that discombobulation. The more you do it, the more it'll deepen. My relationship to the masculine, yes. Trying to be succinct, but then I'm missing words. So Lisa says, my relationship to the masculine, frequent topic in my dreams, at least I think so, given that ex-partners tend to show up. Might be more specific than that. I'll keep reflecting on it. So you'll see this too if you are in a mixed body in a dream circle. Those with feminine psyches tend to dream about men. Those with male psyches tend to dream about women. That doesn't mean gender or sex. It's just the container of the psyche. So I dream about men a lot. I have a feminine psyche. So that's something to pay attention to. It
Mhm.
goes back to the anima and the animus, which is another
Maria,
conversation for another day. Yeah.
Maria is going to want to share. So we're going to.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Maria.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Mhm.
So this is really interesting. I often have dreams where like the whole dream I'm like moving from one thing to the next or looking. And so last night I had a dream like I was trying to get somewhere and it just this and that and the other. And I said, this is like one of those dreams where you're moving around a lot. You're trying to get somewhere. And when I woke up, I was like, that's crazy. I said it to the person in the dream, like, don't you know? Did you have the same thing happen? And when you said that, and I just started to put the thread that I have lots of dreams like that. Like the whole dream, I'm like, either running and hiding, and I got to move from that place and this way. Like I never get to where I'm trying to go because I'm always just moving from one thing to the next, and so that just.
Mhm.
Oh, I wish I had time. I could ask you like
Yeah, I was just gonna
question.
say the same thing. And so the dream belongs to the dreamer. So,
Yeah.
what stirs there? Like what, I'm noticing myself like freneticism, but you may be noticing something else. What is that feeling? And
Yeah,
can
that's
you,
definitely a thing. But the thing that I thought about with the dream last night is that there's lots of distractions getting in the way, not allowing me to do a direct line to where I want to go, that I'm allowing my attention to be drawn to these different things. So the road is just always a detour and a bend and a detour and
I
it's
got
got like
something
a little,
totally different.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
got there's no finish line.
yeah,
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 That's,
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting, right?
it is.
yeah.
And what I'm moved by is through your, and I'm tentative, it's 7:31. So if anyone needs to
Yeah.
pop off, but we're going to be wrapping up here very soon, but I just want to
Yeah.
name that. But Maria, thank you for holding your dreams so vulnerably with us, because I'm seeing the self ask questions of you. The self is saying, we got something to do while we're here. You know, are we doing it? Are we prone to distraction? And it's just asking this kind of gentle question of where are we going? I'm curious, where are we going?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Maria.
you. Thank you for sharing. Amethyst crystal, that helps remember dreams. Thank you, Whitney. Yep. Before you go to bed, say you remember your dreams. That's also, yep. Thank you, Kaylee. Beautiful. So again, it's 7:31. If you need to say good night, we
Yeah,
wish you well, but we just have a few
hopefully
more
be done
minutes.
here in a minute,
Yep.
5 minutes or so.
Maybe not even.
Okay. So why dream circles, B?
So we talked a little bit about why dream circles already. We saw that there's a synchronicity that was present for dreamers here. So a dream circle is a group of dreamers that come together, usually in small groups, often under 10 people, that commit to working their dreams together, recognizing that the dreamer owns the dream. So you come into this sacred space and you hold each other's dreams with reverence. And you recognize that the dream circle itself is the container. It's holding the container of reflection and expansion. And it's this wondering space. So you come into the space, share a dream, and let others hold you in it. And hearing others' dreams always deepen our own.
Absolutely.
It deepens our connection
Yeah.
to dreaming.
Right. I mean, in my dream circle, it's been, I just have this sense of awe week after week meeting with them. And it doesn't matter if I'm sharing my dream or they're sharing their dream. I get so much from each other's dreams. They help me see what I can't always see in the shadow. It's that lighthouse, that light going around and around. And every time it swings back around, it's going to pick up something new for me. And even when we are doing work with their dreams, the symbols and the images that we're working with and the associations, again, what's coming up for me and how is my psyche being activated through that. It's a really a profound experience that I after every dream circle every week, I'm like, I just can't believe this is happening. Like, this is just unbelievable. It's really interesting how our psyches are connected. We all know that, but when you actually see it, you're like, oh my goodness. So dream circles offer containment, reflection, and expansion. Hearing other people's dreams deepens your own, and it builds trust, courage, and soul community. And remember, this is not clinical work. This is sacred work.
So just very quickly, because it is 7:34, if you're moved by what we're sharing, just let us know what might shift if you shared your dream life with another and didn't keep it hidden. And we'll go ahead and lift those up, and then we'll also, as they're coming in, if there's anything you want to share in the chat, we'll also move to the next slide and just invite you into another space. We invited you into this one. I would be happy to share as it would help me understand. Yep, it does. Yeah,
It
it
really,
helps you helps you understand yourself, but also this business of being human, being more open. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, very much so.
So our intention for you today was to take away that dreams are symbolic messages from the self. Dream work is a spiritual practice of attention. Dream circles create collective sacred space for inner life. But this is what we wanted for you, but we're curious, what are you taking away from this? We have somebody that's gonna have more reverence for their dreams. They've been dismissive of the bulk of them. See how they're connected to tell a story.
And you could just reflect on that question of what are you taking with this with you? Just take
Mhm.
it in the heart. And Whitney says, I've never heard of dream circles before.
Oh.
That's very interesting to me. Just you wait.
It's very interesting.
We have such a gift to present to you. Where was I going this? Can't remember now.
You got
Well, let's move on.
So Bethany and I are hosting a dream circle starting April 24th. It's going to run from 6 weeks till May 29th. At this time, Thursdays, except we'll do it for 2 hours, not 1 hour, 6:30 to 8:30. There will be an email going out to all of you, thanking you for your participation tonight. We do appreciate your time with us. Bethany, what did I forget?
I think you're asking the one that lost their train of thought in the middle of it. It's close to bedtime, but no, I think you spoke everything that we did want to share as this invitation to do the work that we've done now, but just in an intimate and loving and compassionate container, and to let yourself be visible. We kind of go back to the spotlight dream, and to be held and protected by others, and to know that there's a guiding presence in the work that you do together. And we can just close with this quote from Jung, that the dream is a hidden door in the innermost and secret recesses of the soul.
There's more information about our dream circles on our Instagrams. Mine is at La Loba Soul Support, and Bethany, what?
I am putting in the chat La Loba Soul Support, and I am at Bethany.s.
Yep, there you go. I knew there was something in the middle between your first and last name.
So we just want to thank
yeah.
you for your time, especially the additional 8 minutes that you gifted us.
Thank
And but thank you for your curiosity. Thank you for holding my dream with such reverence. And if you have questions about the Dream Circle, please reach out and we'll be happy to answer them. And registration is open now.
Yeah, I'm happy to put my email in the chat too, in case you have any questions. Feel free to email me. Let me make sure I spell it right.
Site into boop, boop. All right. Well, everyone, thank you again.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your participation and your attention tonight. You're a great group, and I really enjoyed having you in our circle.
Dream well.